ridiculous to admit that I'm almost done binge watching season 2 of The Owl House purely because yes, the story is absolutely great, but also Kikimora is having a full-on meltdown and I'm so invested to see where her character ends up. I have a love-hate feeling for Kikimora. I admire her tenacity, her dedication to the job, but man, she's something. I do like how Kikimora and the Golden Guard are constantly at odds with each other. They're incredibly similar in that they're there to fulfill their duties because they want nothing more than the approval of Emperor Belos. But with Kikimora, she takes it a step further and completely just disowns everything. And it can all just burn down to the ground for all she cares if it means getting on Belos' good side. Not gonna lie, I love this character regardless of her terrible choices. Is the Golden Guard the most popular character on the Owl House series? Since I started making art of the characters from day one, I've had so many of you ask for the Golden Guard, or rather Hunter, as we soon find out. I'm not done with season 2 yet, but so far the Golden Guard is interesting. A type of anti-hero who we can see is conflicted between his desire to please Emperor Belos all the time and his sudden curiosity of wild magic and of Luce and her friends and of what it's like to be an actual normal teenager. I also find it interesting that he's powerless without his staff. I didn't think witches in this world could be. Granted, I know Ida and Lilith technically are powerless witches at the moment, but that's because of the curse. And I don't think the Golden Guard is cursed. Is he? So why is the Golden Guard your favorite? The last time I spoke about Amity Blight, I was on episode like 5, I think, of season 1. And as you all may remember, I was really not feeling this character. She seemed kind of mean and I couldn't figure out why. Well, I'm about a little more than halfway through season 2 and I now understand why she did what she did to Willow. And wow, her mama Dahlia needs to fly a kite. But I'm proud of Amity now. I'm proud she was able to recognize her mom's unacceptable behavior. I'm proud of her for choosing things for herself and on her own terms. And I'm super proud of her for making the decision to get rid of the green hair. This new lavender purple color is amazing. Although I think I should have made it a little bit more pastel in my drawing here. But I hope her twin siblings also get that courage because I can definitely see that they too feel under the pressure of their own mom too. So who should I draw next from the Owl House? Lumity happened, and oh my god, I feel like my head is gonna explode. In a good way, of course. I honestly thought their relationship was going to be just your usual gals being pals. Because I mean, that's how these things usually play out. And honestly, when it comes to these shows, we're often treated to side characters ending up in queer relationships, but never really main characters. But then Grom happened, and I was like, oh shoot, is this real? But it wasn't official, so I wasn't sure what to expect. And then the kiss on the cheek happened, and I was like, oh my god, it's happening. And then it actually became official, and I was left with my jaw dropped. And the writers did the chemistry between these two so well. It didn't feel rushed or forced at all. It just was natural. And I love how they still feel realistic insecurities between each other. Like when Amity felt Luce for sure was gonna end it in the Crystal Lake episode. But Luce would never. So here's Luce in her Grom tuxedo and her pushed back hair, and Amity in her concealment stone outfit from when she competes in the underground witch duels. And who should I draw next from the Owl House? Of course, after drawing the Golden Guard from the Owl House a few days back, so many of you all wanted him without his mask, which makes sense. So the look I went with was his flyer derby outfit from the Any Sport in a Storm episode, because that was so far my favorite episode of his. I feel as though from the moment we're introduced to Hunter in the series, there's so many subtle hints that he's a curious dude. He wants to be the best and is fiercely loyal to Belos, but he also has new experiences when confronted with Luce and Amity and Willow and Gus. The moment we really see him shine is when he makes all of these friends at Hexside doing flyer derby, and for the first time, he really gets to experience what being a teenager actually is, and having friends. Also, did anyone else feel like he had chemistry with Willow? Maybe that's my own wishful thinking. Okay, I know Hunter is a fan favorite for a lot of you all because you relate to him, and I get that. But for me personally, the character that I relate to a lot is Rain Whispers. I love them. From the minute we see them kind of fail at giving a speech for becoming the next head of the Bard Coven, I was like, yes, that would be me, because I'm awful when it comes to public speaking and terrible with words. Maybe not all the time, but a lot of the time. But regardless, Rain is there with a mission. They might be horrible with words and public speaking, but they're not gonna let this Emperor dude win, because a great witch once told them something about punching fears in the face. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, I love that Rain seems to have taken that advice with them throughout their life in order to conquer their fears for the greater good. So who should I draw next from the Owl House? I think the coolest thing about the Coven heads is how fused they are to their specific power. For instance, Terra Snapdragon, head of the Plant Coven, has hair that strongly resembles plant leaves. Plus, she has a literal flower bloom on the crown of her head too. Emberwolf, head head of the beast coven is an actual beast type of being, it seems. And then there's Darius, my favorite of the coven heads. He's the head of Abomination, and his hair seems to be constantly in the shape of the Abomination consistency that we've seen over the last 2 seasons. And this all makes me wonder, is Darius just so well versed in his ability that he's able to have his hair like this 24/7? I feel like that's the case, especially when he can turn his entire self into an Abomination creature in a matter of seconds. And in Ida's memory, there's a boy at her school who looks exactly like Darius and even wears the purple colors from Abomination. The only difference is his hair is in locks that are in a ponytail. So who's next?